Hello everyone, this is Hakaym and welcome back to some more World of Warships, and today we're showing off the Tier 7 Russian battleship, the Sinop, and I really like this battleship. I really like this battleship. Let's go ahead and point out the teams. We are playing on Two Brothers. We are playing a Tier 8 battle with CVs, and I figured this would be at least a good demonstration of a few things. Now, I can't say this battle is particularly amazing, but there's a few things I really want to show off about the Sinop. I am joined with Sweet Potato and the Atlanta, and I believe this replay, this video, this battle was actually shown on my Twitch stream. Do look in the comments below if you are curious about watching my Twitch. I do stream every now and then. A little bad about it, about doing it at a more consistent schedule. But anyway, let's talk about this ship. This ship is really good. This ship's really fun to play. So, as it is probably very well common for Russian battleships, it is a close range brawler. And since we are playing on Two Brothers and we're playing standard battle, and I do have at least a teammate that I can rely on, I am going to be aggressive. And yes, we do have two destroyers pushing down the middle. I don't even want to talk about it. But anyways, so I am going to be aggressive, and this is kind of how you want to be playing Russian battleships, is you want to be aggressive. You want to push into a position that you can get the most bang for your buck, because at long ranges, your ship just does not really cut it. It definitely struggles. I don't have the range upgrade for the ship. It is the standard stock 15.1 kilometers, I believe. So definitely want to be aggressive with the ship. Now the ship has a really good health pool, 65,000 points of health. It has really good armor, especially along the bow. Now it has two strips of armor that are 25 millimeters on the top and bottom section of the bow, but that middle stretch is over 100 millimeters, and it gets thicker and thicker as it goes further back along the broadside. So it can definitely tank any push, and once again, it is a Russian battleship, so it does have that very quick damage repair or damage control party. So you can be very aggressive with this ship. Now, the reason why I picked this battle was, well, it has a CV. And I think a CV is relevant, especially with the current meta of the game. The AA is not particularly amazing, to say the very least. As most amount of damage is around 1050. Flak is obviously a little bit more. So kind of the reason why I picked this battle, as well as to show off kind of the, I guess you could say, downside of the ship. It doesn't do very well against torpedoes. And yes, I know what that really means. Yes, almost every battleship doesn't do really well against torpedoes, but this has a very lousy torpedo production of only 16%. So you do have to be extremely careful. Now, one thing I have noticed, and it might just be me, maybe I don't know, crazy, but it seems like the ship has a really good deceleration. Because it feels to me, when I've played it, that she seems to slow down quite quickly. And I don't know if that's actually the case, but it kind of feels like it is whenever I played her. So once again, in this battle, fortunately the enemy team's really considerate. They really haven't pushed out west, and they aren't really in a position to really cause a lot of havoc for me, which allows me to stay close to the island and push in against them. New Mexico, very low in health, easily 7.8. Look at that dispersion. And there we go, first blood. Kind of stole that kill, will admit. Now, one nice thing about these guns, and I haven't really, I know I've been saying about the dispersion, but these guns are big guns. They are 406 millimeters, which is quite powerful at tier 7. The only few others is the Nelson. But once again, with this dispersion, it does a really fine job. Now, at long ranges, as I did mention, the dispersion is quite lousy. However, RNG blessed us, and that is kill number 2. Unneeded Citadel, of course. But probably another aspect about these guns is the fact that they have a very slow speed. They also have a very slow reload time as well. They have, I believe, 766 meters per second, which is quite lousy, but once again, you're not really going to be in a position where you want to be firing at long range. You want to be up close and personal, and this is kind of how you want to be playing these ships. You want to be in an aggressive position. Obviously, you want support from your team, and you do have to be careful of any destroyers because, well, destroyers seem to definitely attract or send torpedoes your way, probably is a better way of saying that. So as you can see, I am taking my time, not really overly rushing it, because there is the Akatsuki, and of course our destroyers that went down the middle are retreating because, well, they had a low gang meet up with them, so yeah, and they're quite happy with that trade-off. But anyways, I'm not really going to talk about that. That's besides the point. Speed on the ship is fairly quick, 28 knots, even with speed flag, which isn't overly impressive, but it's pretty darn quick. Downside of this ship is it does have a very, very horrible turning circle radius. You do have to be very careful. It does not turn very well, but it at least has a very good rudder shift time. Pretty big hit on that New Mexico, no citadels, did knock out his gun. And once again, this is kind of how you want to be playing a ship. You want to be aggressive, take the opportunity, push up, and just be a downright hassle for the enemy team, because this ship is very bulky, and I'm actually very surprised I have not taken any damage at all during this battle. Concealment on the ship is also, once again, very nice. 13.1 kilometers, one of the best at tier 7, which really is beneficial for the ship. It does mean it allows you to push up closer than otherwise you'd be detected by other tier 7 ships. Other tier 7 battleships would be detected, is what I'm trying to say. And yeah, once again, really good at being aggressive. I know I've stated this multiple times, but it's the truth. Now, this ship does obviously have the limited damage control party, and I am at least just allowing this fire to burn. I do have a heal. I haven't used up many of my consumables, so I am going to at least just go ahead and just tank this fire. And once again, it seems like this ship slows up very quickly, and I don't know if it's just me or if that's actually the case. Now, obviously, Akatsuki is dropping torpedoes. I was careful here. I actually beached myself on purpose. Didn't want to come around that corner just in case that low gang had torpedoes available. So, fortunately, we won't eat any torpedoes from that low gang. However, we probably are going to be eating torpedoes from the enemy CV. Now, once again, the AA on this ship is not that impressive. Honestly, it's really not. And did that CV just torp someone else? I think they did, which is amusing because considering I was standing fairly still. But it is what it is. Probably was scared about the Atlanta. And yes, Sweet is taking quite a bit of damage. Going to go ahead and be a little bit more aggressive. Try to help him out. Liu Yang is now gone, so that's one less destroyer you have to worry about. And like I said, I really do like this ship. So at the moment, the enemy team has pushed down to our southern cap. We have a Haida who is surprisingly very brave against the Stirpits and Gneisenau and Z39, I believe, actually. But somehow it's going to survive, surprisingly. Now, once again, dispersion at long range, not the Russian battleship's friend at all. Definitely does struggle whenever dealing with long range combat. Akatsuki is dropping torpedoes once again. And using WASDA hacks is by far the best way to survive. As per normal for any battleships, want to be careful. Having the support of Atlanta is really beneficial. Having a support with a cruiser that has hydro is really beneficial. So definitely very, very powerful. Once again, trying to help out with this Pensacola. Broadside, 13.3 kilometers, and then, yeah, dispersion is a little wonky, but let's see if we can get any citadels. There we go, double citadels on that Pensacola. Devastating strike, kill number 3 for us. And now we are officially in cap, and surprisingly, that Haida has managed to stave off the Tirpitz and is currently dealing with the Z-39. Now, enemy team doesn't have a lot in the way of ships. They only have a Gneisenau, Z-39, and a Lexington. And surprisingly, I don't know why, but this Lexington doesn't seem that concerned with the Russian battleship. Obviously, he's focusing on the Atlanta, and Sweet is concerned about the Gneisenau, and unfortunately is going to be eating these torpedoes because he doesn't want to show a lot of broadside to the Gneisenau. And it does take 2, which leaves him very low in health, but we should be fine as long as he kind of stays in close with us. And yeah, you are probably seeing that there is a Baltimore that is currently, currently a ways away. Nearly full health, 9.7 kilometers away, nowhere near. Definitely could use his help with the additional AA. And I will give prop to this galley. This galley's drops torpedoes. This guy is now charging back in, going to defend cap. And even with the fact that the Gneisenau probably could take out both of the cruisers, coming out broadside to a Russian battleship 7 kilometers away from it, yeah, not the best idea. Because this dispersion, I tell you, this dispersion is amazing. 13,000. Galley gets the kill with torpedoes. All those fighters or planes go down. C-39 is getting focused down, and unfortunately for the enemy team, that is actually going to be a loss for them. We do manage to fully cap out, and not really much the enemy team can do. Look at that. Lexington takes out the Z-39, and keep in mind that Haida has been down the channel and back, so very surprised he actually managed to survive this entire time. Anyways, this is going to be it for this replay. We're going to go ahead and jump into the port. We're going to take a look at the stats. But otherwise, I will see you guys in just a moment. Alright everyone, welcome back to the port. And I really like the Sinop. It's a really powerful tier 7 battleship overall. It's probably one of the best tier 7s. And I highly recommend at least grinding up to the tier 7, because then you really get to see the power of the Russian battleships. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the tier 5, but this ship is really, really freaking good. So let's go ahead. Let me go ahead and kind of break it down with the other battleships I do have. Survivability, really nice, 65,000. It's one of the highest as far as health pool is concerned. Torpedo protection is kind of lousy, 16%, very much the weakness of the Russian battleships. Its armor layout is stupidly scary good. 113, 125, and as you go further back, 200 millimeters, 300 millimeters, it does have this 25 millimeter bow section. So if a shot does manage to come in through the nose, this is probably where it's going to really cause any damage. Overall, as far as the deck armor, it's only 25 millimeters. The side armor belt is only 75. So it does have issues with HE. I don't think it's the worst thing for it. But probably one thing you do have to keep in mind, just like any other Russian battleships, is the fact that it does have this very high citadel armor that is not very thick. You do have to play it a little bit carefully, but it does have kind of a turtleback going on. It does have this 300 millimeter belt armor. So there's a little bit of protection, but if you do show a lot of broadside, you will get punished for it. But overall, it's really tanky, has really good armor, and obviously its guns are probably what it's best known for. It has three triple 406mm caliber guns, same caliber as tier 10s, obviously excluding Yamato and the Republic. The only downside, it does have a 33-second reload time. But the turret verse, even with, I believe, expert marksman on this captain, it is down to 48.6 seconds. So, not the greatest, but it's pretty darn good. The reload time's not that big of a hamper. Obviously, with these guns, they do have a limitation at long range. Dispersion goes a little bit more wild, but close range, usually around 10 kilometers, is when your dispersion actually starts to get really super nice. So up close and personal, this ship is very deadly, especially with those large caliber guns. HE 5850 with a 41% fire chance, so very good if you're dealing with some bow taking battleships. But with the 406mm caliber guns with its AP, can't overmatch Des Moines. It can overmatch Henry's. So very good even against tier 10s, even though you won't technically ever see them. But against tier 9s, very good indeed. So max AP damage is 12,950. The range on the guns is 15.8 kilometers. I did not go for the range module. I honestly don't think it's really that worth it for these Russian battleships, because you're not going to be really firing at range that often, and it's less likely you'll actually hit anything. Not to say that you will never actually land a good hit, but it's less likely. The velocity on the shells is 766.5 meters per second. Very slow. So definitely at range, you're going to have to try to provide more of a lead just to ensure your shots will actually land. But once again, you're going to be firing more close range. You're going to be a little bit more aggressive, so lead time's not the worst at that closer range. Secondary armaments, you have 6 dual 130mm. They have a 5-second reload time with a 1900 HE damage with an 8% fire chance and a 5.3 kilometer range. Then you have 4 single 152mm. They have an 8-second reload time, 2200 HE damage with a 12% fire chance and a fire range of 5.3 kilometers. And last but not least, you have some additional 6 dual 152mm, 8-second reload time, 2200 HE damage with 12% fire chance and a 5.3 kilometer range. So secondaries, not too bad. They're pretty darn good. They hit pretty hard. They do have a slow reload time, but it's not the worst. AA defense, definitely not its strong suit. You have 12 dual 37mm, you have 4 quad 37mm, and then you have additional 6 dual 130mm. Not the greatest as far as damage. Mid-range does 560 and long range does 1050. As you can obviously see, it doesn't have any short range AA. So if a carrier is able to get in close to you, you're going to actually kind of feel that. So do keep in mind, its mid-range only goes out to 1 kilometer, which honestly is not the worst. So you can at least shoot down planes, but it's not that overly impressive. Moving on to maneuverability. This is one of the things I like about the ship. Max speed on the ship is 28.4 knots. It does have the speed flag on it. Turning circle radius is lousy, 960 meters, and that is quite big. So don't really expect to be really nimble, but it does have a good rudder shift time of 10.3 seconds, one of the best in the game. So it's not the worst, but once again, the play style for the Sinop is going to be more kind of close range, kind of hunkering down and firing with your shells. Concealment, not bad, 13.1 kilometers. I believe the Leon is a little bit worse. Yes, 13.8 kilometers. Nelson, I believe, is 13.4. So really good detect for its tier, which can prove to be really beneficial because once again you're wanting to get in those closer areas. Detectability range by air is 9.1, and while firing from smoke is 14.5 kilometers. Moving on to the modules, the upgrades. Very basic. Honestly, you could possibly switch this out. get for propulsion modification too, especially if you're going to be sitting more kind of still. Now, one thing I have noticed, and I don't know if it's exactly true, but it does feel like the ship has a really good deceleration. It does seem like it does slow down quite quickly, which I don't know if it's actually true, but it does seem to me whenever I play the ship. Damage control, just like any other Russian battleships, only has five charges. Nothing too different there. As far as captain, I pretty much am building it as a standard battleship. Concealment, obviously superintendent, expert marksman, priority target. Probably will be getting either basic survivability, just to reduce that fire chance, or extinguishing of fires, and probably get fire prevention just to reduce the number of fires on the ship. But with that, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for joining in and watching. If you like what we saw, hit the like and subscribe button. You guys have a great and fantastic day. Saijan.